What are the odds of those 4 big superhero movies coming out this year? Superman is the best.
I think it's a coin flip, honestly, right now. I think Superman and Fantastic Four, I'm both equally excited for.
Superman, next to Batman, their most well-known character, most well-known around the world. I think Superman has a maybe easier path to winning the box office on this.
Oh, welcome back to the Break Room. With DC Studios gearing up with its own slate of movies and TV shows, how will it fare against that dominant Marvel?
Oh.
Today, we'll be taking a look at the upcoming projects, what both those studios have coming in 2025, where they fall in the release calendar, and we will be predicting the winners, the losers, the movers, the shakers, the groovers, the believers. We'll get into that and more. I'm Zach Huddleston, thrilled to be here on a Monday, and thrilled to be joined by my compatriots, Brandon Barrick.
Hello!
And Erik Voss.
Hi!
Yes! Erik, you just put up a video, just went live on the New Rockstars channel moments ago.
Yes.
Talking about the upcoming DC slate.
Yeah.
James Gunn's kind of recent quotes that he's given in regards to Creature Commandos, how that will impact future projects. A lot is still in flux. You mentioned that you kind of do your best job of like outlining the upcoming DC content, but there's still a lot we don't know. Maybe it's still a lot they don't even know.
Yeah, I think what he does know for sure, James Gunn, is that he's not going to move forward with any of these movies or shows until he has a good script that he really believes in. Whether it's a great pilot script, a great show bible, just a great screenplay that he knows is going to be a hit, and a director behind it who knows how to execute that. And I don't know if that's just, what he's saying to an audience who might just feel exhausted by these big franchise films, greenlighting titles before they really have a vision for it or a script. And I think he recognizes that, and maybe it's just good PR to say, I'm not going to do that. But either way, the proof will be in these upcoming titles. Creature Commandos was a modest success, and I'm saying modest by its numerical performance, but I think a lot of people really liked it, and I think it was a pretty well-written show. But I think we need to talk about on today's episode, at what point will we feel that James Gunn's DCU has enough staying power to rival what the MCU has built over 15 years. It's not going to happen right away, but I think it's such a great time to be in a place where we have universally beloved DC and mostly universally beloved Marvel. Obviously, both franchises will have their haters, but I want a popular DC and a popular Marvel. I feel like when I first started making YouTube videos, we were kind of there with DC films, and then for most of the time I've been at New Rockstars, we haven't really had a worthy adversary to Marvel. But I think Marvel will be better when they have quality on the other side.
And we, as the fans, the consumers, win if both studios are pumping out great stuff and are really going head to head and giving each other a good challenge, right? Brandon and I are wrestling fans. Often considered the true golden age of wrestling, the Monday Night Wars, when both WCW and WWE, then WWF, were pumping at full steam. So, we hope they can kind of make each other better, right? What is it, steel, hardened steel? No, what is it?
I think it is steel.
I don't know what the metaphor is. But
diamonds hardened diamonds.
That cannot be true. But I hope it is in this case. Let's look at what 2025. We do know 2026 and beyond is still kind of vague. We know projects, but we don't have a lot of dates and things like that. But we know what's happening this year. Look at that nice graphic. Working left to right, we know we're about to get both an animated Spider-Man show, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and a new season of the Harley Quinn animated show. Then, it's a lot of Marvel there in the first 2 quarters of the year. We get Brave New World, Daredevil Born Again, then Thunderbolts, Ironheart sneaking in there between Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. And then boom, the big first entrant in the film DCU, Superman, followed pretty shortly by Peacemaker Season 2, and then we round out with Fantastic Four, Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, and we hope Wonder Man's still slated in December. We don't know a lot about that series other than some brief glimpses we've gotten. So that's the 2025. Now, obviously, first and foremost, Marvel wins on volume. They have three times as many movies and about double as many shows. So we know, like, they're obviously just putting out a lot more content than DC. That's still kind of ramping up under Gunn. But we're going to try to talk, not just in volume terms, but in both quality and momentum, right? Who feels like they're building? It's been kind of an inconsistent last post-Endgame number of years for Marvel, right? And so we're both going to speculate on like who might win the year just from like best movie, best show, but also like who carries more juice into 2026 at the end of this year. Let's start with the movies. Those are the big ticket items, right? Marvel has 3, DC has 1. What are the odds of those 4 big superhero movies coming out this year? Superman is the best.
I think it's a coin flip, honestly, right now. I think of the 4 titles we're looking at, Captain America: Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Superman, I feel like Superman and Fantastic Four, I'm both equally excited for. We made a sneak peek video that came out at the end of last year on the New Rockstars channel, and right now I think I'm just a little bit more excited for Fantastic Four, really just because of Michael Giacchino's score and just what the what that movie can do for Marvel Studios, and could feel like a homecoming for. We've seen a good Superman movie, in the past 50 years. We've seen several good Superman movies in the past 50 years. We've never seen a good Fantastic Four movie. Yeah. We've seen an okay Fantastic Four, 2005, 2007. They were fine. They were not good. But I think we need a good quality Fantastic Four movie. So that's what I think my heart's leaning more towards that one. But I think chances are, like, James Gunn, I think, has a more difficult challenge. He has more things that he's fighting against. He has more cynicism that he's fighting against. I think all Fantastic Four has to do is kind of create a fun Silver Age Elseworld, an alternate universe, futuristic Manhattan, have a great team dynamic, a great cast, which they already do, a great score, some really cool spectacles of like Galactus attacking Earth and a Silver Surfer, and with the right kind of script and the right kind of like Apollo 11 inspired story, that movie can make $1 billion on that alone. Whereas James Gunn with Superman, I think, has to fight through generations of people who feel like there can't be a good Superman story at this point. People who are still ride or dies for Zack Snyder and feel like he was done wrong and nothing James Gunn will be enough. People who just just don't think that America can live up to its promise anymore. So James Gunn has to kind of like heal the world with this movie.
Whoa, that's a big ask.
I think it is a big ask. I think it still can, of those 4 movies, be the best, though.
And there is a lot of pressure riding on that. I would say that of the 4 films, he's the most accomplished director.
Well, yeah, I mean, Shackman, who's directing
just
Fantastic
TV,
Four, has never directed a feature film before. I think he directed most of Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. I don't know if he directed every episode.
Yeah, he directed the pilot, right? Wasn't that Matt Fraction and Matt Shackman, 2 Marvel
directors?
Yeah,
because he's directed. He's been directors on multiple series, directed multiple series or episodes of television, and sometimes if you're directing multiple episodes, that's as much as of a movie. Sure. But James Gunn, can make all the decisions he wants on Superman, and also as head of DC Studios. With Peter Safran.
He's his own boss.
Yeah, so, Shackman is still like, we were at the D23 in 2022 when Feige was like, Shackman's directing, is in the audience. He's not allowed to come on the stage. He's not allowed to say anything.
So you have Julius Ona doing Brave New World, Jake Schreier doing Thunderbolts, and then James Gunn. You're right, James Gunn is probably the most accomplished.
He's probably the most accomplished, and like all 3, Guardians films doing very, very well.
And the Suicide Squad movie doing well, right? And he's just made a lot of big blockbuster films, which is something you can't say about the other 3 directors.
Yeah. What is James Gunn's highest grossing movie? Guardians Volume 2, or did Volume 1 make more money than Volume 2?
That's a great question.
I think Volume 2 might have made more, but Volume 1 might be seen as a bigger success because it broke soundtrack records. I think it was the highest, most profitable movie soundtrack of all time in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which was saying a lot.
The second one grossed the most worldwide.
Yeah.
It was $869 million worldwide.
So James Gunn's never broken the billion mark, right?
Yeah.
No, as far as I know, no.
But arguably never had a IP as powerful as Superman. right?
Yeah.
Potentially.
And, yes, they've put out Creature Commandos already, but Gunn had started working on that before his new position at DC. And who knows if he would wanted to have started the DCU with that, or we'll see how important those characters become as the DCU moves forward. But this, I think it takes a lot of guts to be like, I'm going to direct the Superman movie, because that's next to Batman, their most well-known character, most well-known around the world, which I think helps this movie the most. I mean, the Fantastic Four are very well-known. I don't know how popular their iconography is worldwide, but Superman is certainly, Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man are probably the three most well-known characters around the world.
Yeah.
And so, I think Superman has a maybe easier path to winning the box office on this, because it might do better internationally.
Well, and we are, though we do talk about it frequently, of course, we're not necessarily financial prognosticators. It's going to be a wild July. We might as well go ahead and pivot to this, right? Both Fantastic Four and Superman come out in July, as well as Jurassic Park Rebirth, which has a good chance to be the biggest movie of the year, starring ScarJo and Mahershala Ali, in addition to others. So people have pointed out, of those three, though, in July, Fantastic Four comes out last, which can be financially advantageous because there won't be another big movie released for quite a while after it kind of gets the box office to itself a little bit longer than those other films that then have, a Jurassic or a Fantastic Four movie coming out on their heels. Who knows? And any one of these movies can be considered the best or the winner of the summer without necessarily making the most money, right?
Yeah.
That we're not just box office watchers here. We can think Superman won, even if technically Fantastic Four makes more money or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good summer for all of us, not just here at New Rockstars, but for this country. If Hollywood, if cinema is doing well, that's a good thing for America, because it is one of our few homegrown industries here. It's one of our biggest exports, and I think the business of Hollywood and film production is the business of this country, and it means that local cinemas in every city of this country are doing well. And I would love it if all three of these movies make $1 billion, and I'm calling it now. I think all three of these movies worldwide will make $1 billion.
Same month?
Put a pin in that.
No, not within a month. I think
No,
by the
but
time
by the
you're
end of the year, worldwide.
Three movies from the same month.
Put a pin in that for the What We Got Wrong 2025, or the What We Got Right. Well, here, and I want to pin you both down. What are the odds, or let's just say, of the 4 superhero movies that are coming out this year, what are we going to look back at the end of the year being like, that was the best, Brandon Barrick?
Ooh, that was the best. I think it might be Superman.
Oh, okay.
I think he might be able to sneak one past the goalie here.
And now, Eric, you kind of hinted that you might think it's Fantastic Four.
I'm personally more excited for Fantastic Four. I think we will look back and say Superman was a better film, but I think there's going to be elements of Fantastic Four that stay with us longer than Superman. I just think that score, never underestimate a film score.
Yeah.
And I think Michael Giacchino's score is going to be one for the ages. I think that will be up for Oscar consideration. That guy, anytime he makes a score, he's in the mix for Best Original Score. So it might be, Black Panther won, Ludwig Göransson won for Best Score. So Marvel has won that Oscar before. It's kind of when I look back at the animated films of 2023 summer, I think I can look at Across the Spider-Verse as a better movie than Inside Out's Elemental, but weirdly, Elemental stayed with me longer than Across the Spider-Verse did. Across the Spider-Verse was a huge cinematic achievement that summer, made a lot of money, amazing art design, but just certain things about Elemental. I don't know what it was. That movie didn't blow me away, but I just thought about its music and I thought about its world and the character.
Every time
design.
you either take a drink of water or set something on fire.
Yeah.
Right. You did say Inside Out's Elemental. You
I meant to say Pixar's Elemental.
Yeah.
You guys gave me
Is
that look where I
Elemental
said something wrong.
inside of the characters of Inside Out who are inside of the world?
Yeah. Do the elementals have little water droplets representing different emotions in their heads?
I think I'm also leaning Fantastic Four, though the contrarian part of me, and just my personal preference, wants to say Thunderbolts. That's still the movie I am most hyped for this year, just because that's my vibe, my speed a little bit more. But I hope that I'm blown away by all of them. Okay, pivoting to shows, just a quick reminder, right, where we just got Creature Commandos, we're getting Peacemaker Season 2, the non-canon Harley Quinn show coming out for its 4th, 5th season, whatever number it's on right now. And then Marvel-wise, course, getting Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Daredevil, Ironheart, Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, and Wonder Man. We're getting 6 Marvel shows. One or more of those might get kind of binge dumped. We don't know. We don't know if they're all going to be weekly releases. And both Marvel Zombies and Eyes of Wakanda are shorter.
They're both 4 episodes.
4 episodes each. And we don't know. Wonder Man might even overlap with the new year, might start in December and end in January or something like that. We don't know yet. But, so, obviously, much more Marvel volume. What are the odds that Creature Commandos or Peacemaker Season 2 are the best show we see this year? Of all of those. We're not counting Star Wars shows, Last of Us, other stuff.
Between
but
the
of Marvel and DC shows, what are the odds that a DC show is the best one?
I mean, the DC one they could be the most adult, right? Peacemaker Season 1 was certainly very, like, R-rated, which I think helps in that sense of, like, they can be a little grittier, a little edgier, a little more, like, hyper-violent if that's what you're looking for in a show. Plus, they've already had one season, so they get to just build on that and keep expanding those characters. They don't have to explain them as much as, like, Wonder Man's going to have to do a lot of explaining, right? Like, just kind of, like, setting stakes and all that. And certainly, I don't think Peacemaker was a big character, but now that it exists and we know the actor and we know everything about that character, it has a leg up over, like, Wonder Man, which I'm excited for Wonder Man because I just don't know what it's going to be. Yeah. It has, like, the most potential. But I also think Creature Commandos, X-Men 97 was really good. What If had good moments and was kind of all over the place. But, like, Creature Commandos was you've talked about it, it's like a singular vision. It really told a story. It had a beginning, middle, and end. It knows what it was going for. It's going to have a second season, but it could have just had one season and been fine. So that makes me think that, like, whatever we see in, like, Peacemaker might be better than some of these animated shows.
Interesting. Okay.
When I look at these animated titles from Marvel and all these titles from Marvel in 2025, like, I have a pretty good idea of what Daredevil Born Again is, but even that show was something else. Mm-hmm. It was something that was not at all connected to the Netflix shows, and then they got to look at all of it. They brought in new showrunners, and now basically just made it season 4 of the Netflix show, and I think that will be better for Daredevil Born Again, but it also just speaks to, I think, all these titles. I could point to, like, something I know about production where I have to ask, do they know what they want from this title? The fact that Ironheart, we saw at D23 in summer 2022, coming on 3 years ago. We saw an episode of What If this past season that was clearly intended to come out after Ironheart did, and I just don't know if, like, the show will still make sense in the DCU or the MCU as they wanted it to initially.
Especially if it needs to follow the events of the second Black Panther, like, closely. Because I don't think they're going to come in now and be like, it's been 2 years since you were in Wakanda, right? I think they're going to try and backtrack.
There might be some bad ADR where...
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance. I mean, we've already seen that multiple years past. I mean, I think in 2024, The Penguin was the best, like, comic book, whether either Marvel or DC adaptation. I liked X-Men 97 a lot, but in terms of live action, I think Penguin was a better show than Agatha. In 2022, was that when? Yeah, 2022 was when Peacemaker came out. So was Peacemaker Season 1 better than Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, and She-Hulk? Yeah, I think Peacemaker was a better show than all 3 of those. So I think it's a very good chance that Peacemaker we already know was better than, Peacemaker was what Secret Invasion should have been. You know? And it was already a better Secret Invasion show than Secret Invasion was. So I think there's a very good chance that in September we look back and we're like, shit, Peacemaker, after Superman, like, DC is in a good place right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would probably take the field of Marvel over the field of DC just because they're going to get more swings. Right? The odds of one of those connecting in a way. But I kind of agree. What do you think the odds are that any of the live action series this year are going to be better than Agatha and Penguin?
Penguin set a very high watermark, and Agatha set a very high. I don't want to make it sound like I didn't. I loved Agatha. Mm-hmm. And I think all these Marvel titles in this year are going to have trouble connecting with audiences more than Agatha did. I think Ironheart has a good chance just because I think Dominic Thorne is such a talent and is just going to do numbers. But I think Wonder Man has an interesting premise. I just don't know what it is. Daredevil Born Again is obviously going to feel like a homecoming for a lot of people. But Agatha was just such a moment, you know?
Yeah.
And blew people away in a lot of cool ways. So you've asked us for odds multiple times, and I realize we have not given you odds, so I'm sorry.
50-1.
Yeah, I don't understand odds.
Okay, well, just
I don't go to Vegas ever.
Is it more or less likely that a show this year will be better live action than both Agatha and Penguin?
Ooh. Than both of them?
They both no. I think it's less likely
Okay.
than a show.
Yeah. What are do we have some comments?
Yeah,
Do we have some...
Moriarty Vinyoung asking if canon is going to factor into any of these franchises at all, with like saying how like James Gunn is kind of embracing like the Elseworlds. Do you think Marvel eventually is going to like start going down that path? They kind of are. You know, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is almost an Elseworld.
X-Men 97.
Yeah, and those are animated. But do you think Marvel will ever get frustrated with this interconnectivity they've built and they've mastered, and they're the only ones like getting away with it for the most part?
You're saying, do they do a live action Elseworlds
That has
Marvel
nothing
property?
to do with. Is that, you know? Do you think they would do something there with like T'Challa before they bring T'Challa back to the MCU? Or
I think we're like 4 to 5 years away from Marvel
really
actually
embracing
committing to
live
an
action?
Elseworlds,
Yeah,
a live action Elseworld.
I mean, because they've already planned out so much. It'd be weird to squeeze in an Elseworld live action.
Yeah.
With all of that,
I think because their business model has been interconnectivity. That's been so core. And James Gunn has made a point in one of these interviews where he said one of the things he likes about DC Comics over Marvel is that they really do have a wide breadth of different Elseworlds that people love as much as the main continuity, whereas Marvel doesn't have as much. Like, their Elseworlds were explored in What If, and then we got into the multiverse, the Spider-Verse, we got 1610 versus 616. There were other universes, but they were not as beloved as things like, you know, The Dark Knight Returns, or Gotham by Gaslight, or Red Sun, or, you know, there's so many other, like, what if Superman this, and they didn't just treat it as like a one-off story.
Yeah.
They lived in it for a whole series.
I think Ultimates was very popular, and then they kind of they blew all that up with the Return of Secret Wars, and they've kind of gone back to it a little bit. You know, the X-Men certainly go through periods of like that. Not that like Krakoa was an Elseworld, but they do these very thematic time periods. But you are right that I think DC, because it's been around for so long, they've had to just kind of tell these side stories so many times that, they have enough time to build up those universes and really live them out. I am Iron Man 10 asking if they think Eyes of Wakanda will tie into the new Black Panther. They've been praying for it. I don't know if God's
praying
hearing
for
those
what?
prayers. For it to tie into like a new Black Panther.
A new T'Challa, you mean?
I think the next movie maybe. If Eyes of Wakanda will set up whatever the next Black Panther movie is going to be, which is not slated. We know it's been worked on. We know Denzel's been approached about it. Ryan Coogler working on that. Nate Moore still will have producing credit on that movie. But I imagine that's not coming until well after Secret Wars.
Well, we'll talk about, in a moment, we'll get to future properties and who might have the hype train on their side. First, let's shout out the people helping us bring this episode to you. One of our sponsors this week is Prolon El Nutra. Prolon's fasting mimicking diet is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting.
Make them believe. What
It's
do your cells
tricking
believe?
your cells. Making your cells live a lie. I ate a lot of delicious garbage over the holiday break, and Prolon's 5-day fasting program is the perfect way to kickstart my health for 2025 with benefits like fat loss, enhanced skin appearance, and improved energy. Plus, it's easy to start. If you purchase a Prolon 5-day kit, you gain free access to the January Fasting Challenge. Groups start every Sunday in January, so you can start it when it works for you. Prolon's January Fasting Challenge is a coach-led program to set you up for fasting success. The 5-day program includes snacks, soups, and beverages designed to keep your body in a fasting state. No guesswork or planning required. Prolon also provides motivation and guidance from longevity and nutrition coaches, so you can successfully complete your fast. The program was researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and is backed by leading U.S. medical centers. Ready to make 2025 your healthiest year yet? Order your Prolon 5-day kit at prolonlife.com/breakroom and join in on their fasting challenge today. New groups start every Sunday in January, plus Prolon is offering the Breakroom listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program for your post-holiday glow-up when you go to prolonlife.com/breakroom. And then I'll go to the appropriate camera for this next one.
Boy.
We also want to thank Mando.
Oh,
You guys have heard
baby.
me talk about Mando before. I am Mandoed up. Ooh, yeah, today already. I made smelling good part of my 2025 resolution.
And we all appreciate that, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. You guys, kept saying I was stinky last year.
We wanted you to cut back on the drinking, but the smelling good is nice.
We'll settle for the
Yeah,
smell.
yeah.
That's right. I just want to let you guys know, okay? My funk is defunct. Okay? My stink is on the brink. Okay? My odor.
Your stench is sitting on the bench.
That's right. Well, I was going to say my stench is quenched, but on the bench is even better, okay?
What's your odor doing?
It's out to order. Out of order.
Musk,
Okay.
asleep by dusk.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Other stink synonyms have also been dispelled, okay? Mando, and I'm a big proponent of them, Mando's whole body of deodorant comes in 3 forms. You can get invisible spray, solid stick, that's what I like, and invisible cream. It's clinically proven 72-hour odor control, so it's perfect for long days at the office when I'm, generating heat, friction, stink.
We've
lot
asked
of
Zach to
power.
work from home.
Yeah. I will say, Zach, I did use some Mando over the holidays. You have those long days where you're out of the house, you got to go to all these events. It works.
It does.
It's very fresh.
It's got that mandolic acid, however it's pronounced. Truly, it quenches your stench. Okay, I mean it. Like at the end of the day, I can get stinky. Okay, the end of the day, you have Mando. I smell great. It's really impressive. They got 4 scents, bourbon leather. That's what I'm wearing today. Also love their Mount Fuji. They got Pro Sport and Clover Woods.
It's my favorite Beatles album.
Clover Woods.
Yeah.
Oh, or Mount Fuji. That was in their more experimental phase.
Yeah.
It's mostly sitar and
They were smoking
bongos.
too much weed during Mount Fuji.
That's right. But really, all of their products are great. Their starter pack is perfect for new customers. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, which I love. Cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash or deodorant wipes. Those are also good if you're on the go. You keep those in your glove compartment or in your backpack. Do a little restroom wipe down.
Get you out of the ticket.
Yeah, that
what?
ticket.
Beat
That
the
stinky
ticket.
ticket.
Oh, license and registration? Well, I don't have either of those, but I got some Mando deodorant wipes.
Nice.
Got pulled over for driving while stinky.
Yeah. He had the odor lines coming off his car like pig pen.
I got prosecuted for a DWS. Roll the windows down and just the smell lines come out of the window.
They do a breathalyzer in your pit.
It's yeah.
Sir, can you make your armpits fart backwards?
You gotta pull up.
Yeah.
While
That's how they
walking
get you.
while walking
No one
a
can
straight
pass
line.
those tests.
The real question is, who wins 2025? DC, Marvel, or Mando? Okay? Special offer for listeners of Breakroom. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off. Hey, your starter pack. Use code BREAKROOM at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence with Mando.
With Mando.
Okay, so again, Marvel's putting out the most content. We've already kind of discussed the odds, and the odds are decent that DC could have the best movie that comes out,
Quite
superhero
possibly.
movie, potentially the best show in the superhero genre, and a lot of that is there are a ton of question marks around a lot of the Marvel
Right.
properties coming out this year, right? There's no there's no Spider-Man movie, there's no Loki season 3, right? There's no like blue chip guaranteed hit property coming out. You can make an argument Daredevil might be the closest, only because that's like known property, but that had a lot of production question marks around it.
But
Right?
even then, if you have an amazing Daredevil, if all 3 of the movies do pretty good, if you just have a bad Wonder Man, This time next year, everyone's gonna be like, is Marvel dead? Like, Marvel has to knock it out of the park with every single one of these things. And the fact that they have so many might even count against them, because it's more opportunities for snarkers on the internet to be like, see, this is why Marvel sucks, and ignore the 5 or 6 really good things.
Yeah, and to have like a 6-week news cycle, because that last show that just came out didn't do good, right? Where people are talking about Marvel's dead, superhero fatigue, yada, yada,
Well, and
yada.
even with the films, too, you know, both Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts, it's not really introducing new characters. I mean, there's maybe a couple new characters that are going to pop in, but it's mostly characters they've already had. This is kind of an antithesis to the more recent films, which was mostly introducing, like, new characters, going all the way back to, like, Eternals and Shang-Chi, and then even, like, the Marvels is older characters, but Miss Marvel was a show. I don't know if everyone who saw that film watched the show. You know, so I think there is a lot of pressure. And if, you know, if it feels like Brave New World and Thunderbolts, they have kind of like a lackluster performance, or they're not as well received critically, going into Fantastic Four, it's going to be an uphill battle, I think.
I think Fantastic Four is going to be such a turning of the page. Like, Fantastic Four, for a lot of people, will be new characters. Yeah, they kind of know the thing. They know Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, a version of Silver Surfer and Galactus, but it's going to feel so new and fresh. It's going to feel like, man, I wish the Marvel Cinematic Universe could have started with this movie. I think, like, the way Kevin Feige is looking at it is he's telling everyone, like, I'm excited for all these movies, but Fantastic Four is the one I really care about.
Yeah.
They've already made these other 2 movies. They're going to put whatever marketing power they can behind them, and however they go is however they go, and then they can always just back it up with their ace in the hole of Fantastic Four and pretend like those other 2 movies were just things they were obligated to do. And, you know, as long as they're not complete dog shit piles, they'll be able to, like, claim them as successes. What's interesting, though, is, like, Brave New World, early box office predictions, which tend to be pretty accurate 1 month before a movie, are not projecting this movie to make a ton. They're saying it might break into $100 million opening weekend, which is very, very good.
Right. Yeah.
But by Marvel standards, not that great.
Yeah.
Not that great.
Certainly compared to Deadpool and Wolverine, that made all the money and ended up north of $1 billion, 1.2, 1.3, something like that. Made a ton of money. Considered a success all around. Well, then let's talk. You kind of mentioned, and we're kind of talking about who might win the hype or the momentum or the kind of fan enthusiasm award in 2025. A lot of that will also be predicated on what's coming in 2026. What kind of trailers, what kind of announcements might we get this year for things that won't come until next year, right? And again, a lot of this slate, because it's so far out, is not confirmed. But we know the biggest thing is confirmed. Avengers Doomsday coming in 2026. Our first Avengers movie since Endgame. RDJ back. There we go. Okay, this is, and again, these are kind of loose, but we have Avengers Doomsday in May, an untitled DC project, a film. We'll come back to what that could be. Supergirl kind of being the big DC movie.
That's supposed to be number 2, yeah.
That'll be, in theory, the second movie, potentially third if this May movie comes to fruition. Then we're speculating this Lantern show starring Aaron Pierre and Kyle Chandler. We think it's going to be next summer. Spider-Man 4, Tom Holland, live-action Spider-Man, probably dropping next July. This Mike Flanagan Clayface movie. And then, obviously, there's some things that aren't filled in here. We think we're getting, at a minimum, one Marvel show, probably Vision Quest. Could be a Nova show in there. Can they squeeze out X-Men 97 Season 2? Could we get some, there will probably be more Disney Plus content from Marvel in there somewhere that we don't know what at this point because it's still far out. But just looking at that, and then presuming that by the end of 2025, we should get an Avengers Doomsday trailer and maybe a Supergirl trailer. In addition to maybe announcements, there's potential there that Marvel could sneak in another movie by the end of the year. We could get a November Marvel movie. Some people have speculated, do they finally get their stuff together on Blade and squeeze that movie out? Who knows? But by the end of this year, who's winning the hype game for 2026?
I think 2026 will be a bigger year for Marvel than it is for Warner Brothers, DC. But it'll be more critical for Warner Brothers and DC to prove whether the DCU has the staying power that the MCU has had over 15 years. Where it's kind of unfair to even compare them at this point, just because one good movie a couple good TV shows doesn't really mean much when you're talking about the longevity the MCU has had and how much better they kept getting and kept upping their game. Obviously, Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man 4, going to be huge hits. So they'll both be billion-dollar movies. They're going to break records. But the importance of Supergirl for Warner Brothers is very important to like James Gunn's career at DC, to that entire franchise. If that movie is a hit, like that is, we were talking before we started recording, that will be what I think Thor was in phase 1 to Marvel. Thor was a known character, kind of a cosmic character, a Norse mythological god that a lot of people only knew from Marvel versus Capcom or Avengers versus Babysitting, or just knew from whatever superhero island at
Island of Adventure. Yeah.
But the fact that it was as successful as it was told investors and told fans that like Kevin Feige had a vision and he was able to execute on it well enough. So if Supergirl can do like half of what Superman can do, if it can at least like turn a modest profit, something like, if they spend $150 million on it, if it makes $500 million, that's a huge hit. That means that DC Studios will be in a very good place. But I think the hype question might be answered by Comic-Con this summer. We're going to have CinemaCon in April in Vegas, and then we'll have Comic-Con in San Diego, and we'll be there, hopefully, maybe for both. James Gunn, I think, has indicated, he skipped Comic-Con last year. I think he's going to be at Comic-Con this year. That this will be 2 weeks after Superman comes out. I think he's going to announce his actor for Batman, would be my guess.
Whoa.
He's going to have some big announcement to win that weekend. Whereas Marvel Studios, the best thing they could present to us is either A, an announcement of Blade, B, teaser footage of Doomsday, C, some kind of specific casting announcement for Secret Wars or Doomsday, like other people who are coming back, or D, plans beyond Secret Wars about like X-Men, and they can announce what their plan is for Xavier or Wolverine or Magneto.
I want to go back to your Thor Supergirl idea there. I also like that because Millie Aycock, similar to Chris Hemsworth, was not a big movie star when cast as Thor, nor is Millie Aycock, right? Kind of like up-and-coming actors who have worked, but like have not been the face of a big franchise. So it equally could help establish both their careers and the franchise, right?
Totally.
I also like what you're talking about Comic-Con being such an important event for both these studios. Because though I will say, like, 2026... I don't think there's a world where Doomsday is not the biggest movie of 2026, but so much of Doomsday is about looking back. We're literally bringing back the old actors, some of whom we assumed were dead, right? Like, and it'll be like, great as all good Avengers movies are. It's a team up. We get to see all our friends in the same room. But like, I'm interested to see like, what does Marvel see going forward? Do we get an X-Men announcement this year? Is that the real shoe drop if Feige's like, here, I got some footage, I'm bringing our DJ out, I got some footage from Doomsday, whatever. Also, I'm slating whatever the first X-Men movie is. Your move, James. You know what I mean?
I think if he were smart, he would. And I think he is smart. I just feel like he might feel kind of cautious. He might want to hedge his bets. We'll see how 2025 goes for him. If these first two releases of Brave New World and Thunderbolts underperform, he might want to hedge his bets and just focus everything on Doomsday and Secret Wars. And at that point, Comic-Con of this summer, I think he's going to want to build up all attention to Doomsday and Secret Wars. I don't think he's going to see beyond that horizon and promise anything beyond that. I just think he should. I just don't think he will.
Which Hall H panel is going to be harder to get into?
Marvel. I think Marvel historically is the premier event. I think what James Gunn will probably do is get like a Friday night instead of a Saturday night. Like Kevin Feige always does the marquee headliner event. And if James Gunn were smart, he would do it at a completely different time, and he would do it the day before. Look, I'm giving you advice, James Gunn. Just like you can win the weekend. The thing is that Comic-Con is going to be on Fantastic Four release weekend.
That's crazy.
So James Gunn might have to be strategic. Is he going to make his big Batman announcement the day that Fantastic Four comes out in theaters? Or is he going to get ahead of it at CinemaCon in April and start to make these announcements? I think he's he's committed to not moving ahead until scripts are written. And unless Andy Muschietti is able to get a good Brave and the Bold script written, I don't think he's going to be talking about casting.
I think as much as I think James Gunn's great in front of a crowd and him getting up in Hull H and dropping some bombs would make waves. Also, when he announced the Gods and Monsters, that was him in a direct-to-camera, right? Like, he created his own event. You don't need people in the room. You don't need to fly out.
DC bring back the fandom?
Yeah.
I think it was really fun, like 10 years ago, Kevin Feige at one point, like, booked the El Capitan and made his big Phase 3 slate. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Where at first it was going to be Captain America Serpent Society and then changed to Captain America Civil War. And they brought out I might be mixing events. But I think it was October 2014 is when he said that it was going to be Infinity War Part 1 and 2. That's the first time he said that. And everyone was like, that's 4 years from now. You're crazy. And he delivered. I would love it if like these studios actually just started hosting their own things. Like not even D23. Just like book a theater and make it a big show. That's why I think like Marvel Studios will have the bigger show at Comic-Con just because year over year they always put on a big spectacle. Yeah. And I think it's part of like that Disney fanfare is they love getting in front of the Hall H crowd and just working their magic. They levitated a car at last year, the Fantastic Car. And so I don't know if Warner cares as much, but back in the day, like I remember when Zack Snyder came out at Comic-Con and brought out the whole Justice League cast. That was really exciting at Comic-Con. I think it could be a really exciting Comic-Con this summer. I think we will know more by the end of July. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I hope we get a Doomsday teaser by the end of this year. I mean, back in the past Avengers movies used to release trailers around Thanksgiving before a May release. So that'd be really fun if we got some information. Either way, we're going to get some kind of announcement. Like we'll get some kind of further casting announcements. We'll get to see some set photos. You know, it's going to be a big year looking ahead to Doomsday. And I think just today, you know, Empire Magazine releasing these quotes from the Russo brothers, you're going to start to see, like, why would the Russo brothers already start to do press for a movie when they're not going to start shooting it for another 3 or 4 months, you know? It's because Marvel understands the importance of building up the hype machine.
But it does make me wonder if they don't want to get too far ahead, you know, because, like, Secret Wars could be like an Endgame-esque movie where it's a kind of reset in a weird way, and they don't want to make too many announcements beyond that.
Beyond Secret Wars.
To kind of play their hand too much, especially if they want to have mutants show up in these movies. They don't want to say, like, oh, there'll be a Storm movie in 2028, but you'll see Storm first and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. We'll have to see there, I guess. And it's not to mention that none of the, you know, the biggest movie of 2026 could be Toy Story 5, could be Shrek 5. Yeah. There's going to be some big, heavy-hitting kids movies coming out in 2026 that could dominate beyond Doomsday.
Sure. I mean, in the same way, Inside Out was the biggest movie of 2024, right? Like, by a significant margin.
I mean, the biggest movie of 2025 could end up being Avatar: Fire and Ash, like, right? Like, that's a guaranteed $1 billion movie. These other movies might not.
Plus, Mission Impossible.
No, never seen that.
2026, you got Christopher Nolan's Odyssey.
That's
could be the biggest hit of the summer. Who knows?
There's an untitled Spielberg movie coming out in 2026.
Untitled J.J. Abrams movie coming out in 2026. 2026 is going to be a massive year.
I think we're getting a Jordan Peele movie in 2026 as well.
I think his next movie. Yeah, you're right.
At some point, Tarantino will make his last movie.
Well, maybe not.
Alicia VP, as we talk about Supergirl, Alicia VP 16 asking, does Supergirl have to have the same hopeful vibe as Superman? You know, James Gunn's talked a lot about, like, Superman. We've seen the trailer. It's bright. It's colorful. It's building on that hopefulness. You know, is everything in the DCU going to be like that? I mean, James Gunn, you know, the Suicide Squad and Creature Commandos and Peacemaker are kind of dark, a little depressing, very heavy.
Though they usually, most of his things end on a hopeful note.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, I think they're certainly, like, heavier. But it does seem like Superman, he wants it to be, you know, that kind of, like, hopeful, building that belief in our heroes again. Do you think he'll do that with Supergirl also? Or do you kind of have the opportunity to make Supergirl a little more edgy if you're doing that with Superman?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it hopeful. I wouldn't call it edgy. But, like, spunky? I don't know. People might hate that term. But, like, Supergirl, it can be funny in ways that Superman can't. Like, this summer's Superman movie, that trailer seemed devoid of humor, other than the dog, right?
Yeah.
The dog wagging his tail as he's
Nathan
dragging him.
Fillion's haircut.
That's serious. That's a serious haircut for a serious man.
That is like, I think what a lot of people are most afraid of is that James Gunn's sometimes somewhat sophomoric humor might creep into the Superman movie and people will cringe and it'll feel like the Justice League all over again. I don't think it's going to happen. James Gunn much prefers to be, if anything, overly sentimental than overly comedic, especially as he's gotten older. I think the Salt era of James Gunn has lost some of his sense of humor and wants to make everything tragic, as we see in Creature Commandos. Every episode has some tragic backstory, and we'll see how that manifests in Superman. I think Supergirl, by attaching a director like Craig Gillespie, tells you something. Getting the I, Tonya director to direct that movie, like, think of the vibe I, Tonya had. Like,
Kind of black comedy. There was a lot of
kind of a
comedic
dark
moments in that
comedy.
movie, but
I was rooting for her the whole time.
Yeah. So I think there might be some of that. Greg Gillespie, though, also directed that, what was the Gamergate movie with Paul Dano?
Like GameStop.
Not Gamergate.
Diamond Fist.
Yes. I can't remember the name of it, but they were trying to do, like, tell the story
Dumb
of that.
Money?
Dumb Money, yes. And I didn't care for it. Now, a lot of people did like it. I just thought it was trying to do The Big Short in a way that it's just my personal preference. I don't like seeing a scrolling internet page on the screen. I think it's just something that we see in movies a lot now to try to capture a moment. And we see like people like TikTok screens on a big screen. And I was like, oh, it dates the movie. And it'd be nice if you could show that in some other way.
The most well-shot TikTok you've ever seen in your life.
Eric wants phone booths.
Yeah.
He wants landlines. He wants fax machines.
Yeah, I want telegrams. What I'm saying is...
You want the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
You want that dirty found footage.
I just think it's like, there are some exceptions to this. The movie Searching, I think, is really cool, that uses like a computer screen to tell the story. But I think like you see this too much in movie shows. The Boys does it a lot. Ms. Marvel did it to show like a comment feed on someone's phone.
She's going viral.
The vertical integration, and it's just like a montage of that. And Dumb Money was like 80% montage of that stuff, so I just didn't care for it. Also, executive produced by the Winklevi, who clearly just wanted their version of The Social Network and wanted to look like they're sponsoring like democratic social media stories when they themselves are like the 1% of the 1%. And that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way when I watched the credits. Anyway, Craig Gillespie, though, remains a very talented filmmaker, and I think just his work on I, Tonya and his other various projects had me feeling very confident for Supergirl.
And he's a very stylized director. I, Tonya has a lot of like stylistic choices that are like, weird ways of editing and putting things together. So like, it'll be really interesting to see what that movie looks like. And I think both Marvel and DC, there's a good chance that there's another movie in 2026 that we don't yet know about, right? People have talked about DC movies. This Clayface movie's been slated for the end of the year. We have Supergirl. Could we squeeze out the Sergeant Rock movie from Luca Guadagnino? This Bane and Deathstroke movie that's been talked about. There's a lot of movies that are in some early form of development. We don't know if they'll ever even see the light of day. Could be more series. There's the Mascara series. I don't think they could get out a Creature Commandos season 2 by next year.
I'd be surprised. I think that's going to be a late 2026 or early 2027 release.
Yeah, they have a few series we don't know about yet, right? The Themyscira one, like you said, that Authority.
A Booster Gold series.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think by Comic-Con of 2026, we will know if DC is there. If DC is actually in a competitive place. Because at that point, we would have had Superman, we would have had Peacemaker, we would have had Supergirl, and we would have had Lanterns. And if Lanterns is like the really cool Max series next summer, and James Gunn has some interesting announcement, and we've seen a trailer for Clayface, an announcement about something beyond that, I think we'll know by then. I think we'll know a year and a half from now. I think right now it's too early to say, but there's a lot of excitement and promise for DC, and I'm excited to see that. I think what fans have been longing for is just some consistency, some quality control. And I think that's what James Gunn is doing right now with all these interviews, is he's just saying, don't worry, I'm not going to move forward. Here's what I'd like to do, but if we don't have scripts for any of these, there's no timeline of when these things have to come out. He's not putting dates under anything.
Until Warner Brothers goes bankrupt and they're like, you got to put all this out right now. I want to play a quick game as we run out of time here. Feel free to yell at your laptop or phone or however you're consuming this show right now. I want to just name some things. I'd love it if Erik and Brandon if you at the same time kind of rock, paper, scissors style, just shout out Marvel or DC, okay, as your answer to these prompts. Biggest movie in 2025. 1, 2, 3.
DC.
Yeah, DC.
Oh, okay. Both going Superman. Okay. Best show of the superhero shows in 2025. Marvel or DC. 1, 2, 3.
Marvel.
I was gonna say DC.
Ooh,
I think
wow.
Peacemaker might just be better than Daredevil. I don't know if that's crazy.
I'm hoping Daredevil, whatever changes they made were
Okay.
the right ones.
Biggest announcement of 2025. Maybe this is a casting. Maybe this is a new movie slated. Something like that. Biggest announcement of 2025. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Kevin Feige understands the power of.
I think
announcement.
DC's biggest stuff is Batman stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think even we're all excited to see who will be Batman and Brave and the Bold, but because there's still like Matt Reeves' universe going on and all that, I think every Batman announcement comes with an asterisk on it, right?
And I would say, like, Marvel had the biggest announcement of 2024 just with the RDJ news.
Right.
They can do bigger than that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they can go even bigger. So I agree there.
What if James Gunn gets Robert Downey Jr. to play Batman?
Damn, dog.
Yeah, I think James Gunn doesn't want to announce something until he has a script. So I don't think we're gonna.
But who knows what he might be sitting on, right? Yeah. And then finally, and now we can include 2025 releases in this, okay? But biggest first trailer. So I know we might get more Thunderbolts trailers. We might see more Superman trailers, but like not counting those. So really, for this year, the big trailers we haven't seen are Fantastic Four. I mean, I guess if you want to count. But we'll just keep it Marvel and DC. Okay, so it's really just Fantastic Four and then 2026 properties, right? Maybe a Doomsday, maybe a Supergirl, other undecided movie that might be coming out next year. Who has the best trailer of 2025?
Marvel. I mean, Fantastic Four is going to slap. Even if they release like a filled out version of the concept trailer, that music is going to electrify people. And I don't know if it will beat Superman from December. That trailer was great and broke all kinds of records. I think the fact that they're going to release it during the Super Bowl will diminish their opportunities to break. I mean, DC owned that entire week. And my free advice to Disney is like, don't waste your money dropping this trailer during the Super Bowl. Yeah. Do it the week before. Do it now.
Pro Bowl.
Or
do it in the Pro Bowl.
Tell
baby.
people when you're going to do it. Yeah, like you don't have to like release it at the same time everyone else is making their big announcements and trying to break the internet.
Get a bunch of drones and make the drones do the trailer in the sky and everyone could see it.
Oh, they kind of did that at Comic-Con. Okay.
I mean, I think Marvel could steal it because could they get out a Spider-Man trailer in 2025?
They could get out a Spider-Man trailer. They could get out a Doomsday trailer. I mean, those are three potential gigantic biggest of all time trailers.
Yeah. It won't be Marvel who cuts the trailer. Sony cuts the trailer. And Sony is unpredictable. They are so weird about when they will drop it at like 1 a.m. New York time.
Leaked by their Brazilian account. Or the South Korean TikTok.
And it'll have international subtitles over it, and it will have like a weird 6-second teaser at the beginning of the trailer YouTube upload. Like their marketing department is so weird, and I don't know why they do it that way. But yeah, who knows when we'll see a Spider-Man 4 trailer? I don't know. We might hear about 2
or
months
even like
before.
an Across the Spider or Beyond the Spider-Verse trailer.
Yeah. I don't know.
That could be big.
Ooh.
They got to finish that movie.
Could be a 26 release. Fingers crossed. Okay. That was a lot to chew on, folks. We'll be checking in as these things come in, right? Maybe doing our heat rankings on the two studios and who's moving up and who's moving down and who's staying flat. We hope, and I think there's reason to be hopeful that like both of these studios end 2025 in a better place than they started 2025.
Will they announce the Red One sequel this year?
Are you a certified naughty lister?
I'm a level 4 naughty lister? I think so. Any
shout outs or comments or questions we should get to?
Yeah, Omar37 can't believe that some of these Marvel projects even exist.
Believe it.
Like, why set up new stuff while we're getting so close to Doomsday and Secret Wars? They're like, shut it down. Just give us Doomsday and Secret Wars. I gotta sneak in all this other
There's
stuff.
a chance that might happen. We might only get Doomsday and Spider-Man next year.
Will each of these shows address if the characters were blipped or not? That'll be my question. Nope. Will we ever know? What happened to Xandar? That's what I want to know. Someone tell me what happened to Xandar already.
They should explore it in a Nova series in 2026. That's how you compete with Lanterns.
A big thanks to Irish Warthog for the bits. They were asking if we've seen Goosebumps The Vanishing trailer yet. They say it looks really good.
Is it the David Schwimmer joint?
Was that Schwimmer on the trailer? It looked like it's Schwimmer, right?
He's in some kind of Goosebumps
Yeah.
He's in
property.
it, yeah. He's
they
on
said-
a billboard that looks like it's like Venom, but it's like monster blood.
I don't know. Evan transcribed this. I don't know if this is what was exactly said. They said, "Don't go in the basement with David from Friends as the dad."
I like you
Who
say
just calls him
David from...
David.
So the actor's name is David. Ross was the
No, you
character's
mean
name on Friends.
Jennifer from Friends?
I had to read it 10
Matt
times.
and
I was like,
Matthew
"Is
from
there a
Friends?
character named David on Friends?"
Also, you don't need to warn me. I'm not going to the basement with anybody, okay?
That,
Stay in the
I mean,
basement.
it looks like scary. I think it's
Yeah.
like Amy, but I mean, the Goosebumps books were scary to us when we were children.
The
they're
covers were scary.
We're not talking Fear Street, which was aimed at the teens. Goosebumps was aimed at the preteens.
And everyone is asking.
Or it looks like his brains got blown
I
out or
know
something.
it's rough stuff. Everyone asking, will Blade ever come out?
Yeah.
Do we get
mean, there was-
definitive news this year?
Yes.
There was that scoop that a rumor that Blade will be made because it's the furthest along in production and they're very excited about it and they want to get it made. But
Yeah, I think so.
What are the chances that it's not Mahershala Ali though?
ooh,
I think it's got to be him.
he's got to be in it. I think.
But what if it's his choice to back away and let somebody else do it? Or whatever.
You don't think he would? I think if he wants to back away, he would have backed away at this point.
Yeah, that's a good.
Would
point.
again got in on.
I mean, at
Sinners.
this point, it's going to be like Mahershala Ali the third or something.
These guys are having kids.
For his
Like,
great
put 'em in these
grandsons.
movies. Put in these movies. And Marvel Pirate asking, we've seen a lot so far from both ends, but did you prefer canon or not canon this year?
Oh well.
Oh,
I mean,
not canon. Are you talking about the past year?
Are you saying
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Joker Folie à Deux was your
No,
joint?
I
or-
mean Penguin and X-Men 97.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When allowed to tell stories, right?
Yeah, and I
However they
think
see fit.
Penguin's a great example where it's like a really good show can give you another year to make the next movie, right? Like it can just fill out that universe where all these Marvel shows just feel like other stories they're trying to tell. Hawkeye was probably the closest of like kind of continuing a story. I think that was the most effective parts of Hawkeye, watching Jeremy Renner or Clint Barton like deal with the fact that half of his team is dead and all the sacrifices that have been made and he's got hearing loss now and all these problems. That was more fascinating to me than like trying to introduce a new character like Moon Knight on a series and then do nothing with him, you know, throw him into a what if episode or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the non-canon. Make more Elseworld stuff. Don't be afraid, Marvel. You've proved your concept. You've done it. No one's ever going to touch you. No one. I don't think any entertainment group will ever be able to replicate what Marvel has done at this point. Like go 15 plus years.
Well, I mean,
30
movies,
something odd movies.
movies
like,
may never
Yeah.
come back to that level anyways because of other changes in our society and our habits, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank
Great
you so
note
much.
to end on, Zach.
Yeah, that's right. It's all downhill from here, folks, in so many ways. By the way, quick update if you're still watching. We're all doing okay fire-wise. We've all been impacted in some way, but everybody on our staff, knock on wood, is safe, has not had their domiciles burned down. We're struggling through every day, but we're making it work. So thank you for anybody that's reached out.
Yeah, and you know, you may have seen other outlets say we're taking the week off. We do have some employees who are just kind of taking some time. Luckily, a lot of us, not Brandon, but a lot of us live in the San Fernando Valley, which just for now has been relatively stable. But many other parts of LA are just in a very scary place. So our hearts go out to everyone and anything you can do to help.
Yeah.
Anything you can do to help. There's a number of relief organizations that you can donate to. Even if it just means like, if you were going to tweet or reshare some misinformation or some dodgy political hot take, maybe don't retweet it.
Sit on that.
Maybe
Yeah.
just put your phone down. Sometimes it's the best way you can help the situation.
Put that in your drafts and let it die there.
Yeah.
How about that? Log off.
But we thank you all for your nice statements,
Yes.
and it's really, really been inspiring to, you know, it's been a very dark time in LA's history. It's the worst natural disaster the city's ever gone through in its history. But to see the different parts of the city come together, to see all of us at New Rockstars look out for each other and reach out to each other, and all of our families are calling us constantly, and just to see like different states different countries are sending resources, and it's just been such like Mr. Rogersian look to the helpers-esque feeling that has gotten us through this. So thank you, everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And wherever you are in the world, we hope you're taking care of yourself and the people important to you. We'll be back a couple more times this week. We're going to talk the finale of Skeleton Crew.
On Wednesday, yeah.
On Wednesday. Eric will be here for that.
Yeah, I'll be here.
And other familiar faces.
He'll be here.
And we'll do at least one other show this week as well.
Yeah.
Evan will be back soon, and we'll be having fun. So keep an eye out for all of that. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and have a good day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.